Mark Durkan, not the most encouraging picture painted by some of our contributors, some of whom would be seen as being well disposed to the SDLP. Do you recognise that picture?
Well, I'm not sure who you're saying would be particularly well disposed to the SDLP there, because somebody like Brian Feeney is constantly making absolutely unwarranted criticisms.
Conor McDevitt, some of the young people at the beginning were very positive.
We recognise the challenges that we face as a party. More importantly, we also recognise the challenges we face here as a region, as an economy and as a community, and we are trying to address and deal with those challenges. We're using our position in the Assembly, weakened, yes, on behalf of people. We're using our position in the executive. Margaret Ritchie's in very difficult circumstances, fighting hard for people who need someone to fight hard for them, while other parties just engage in the power play of politics. And we're fighting hard at Westminster and in local council. So we use our representation well, dealing directly with the issues that are affecting people now. We're not just thinking about ourselves all the time and planning the future of a party.
Let me quote you from your last conference speech in November 2007. We've won the moral high ground but lost electoral ground. It's time to give up or step out. It's time to roll our eyes or raise our sights. What will you be saying differently this year?
Well, one of the things we'll be doing this year is very much addressing the position not just of the party, but the position we're in as an economy and as a society. That's what people want from their political leaders and their political representatives. We are not afraid.
But in terms of what you can do about it, in terms
issues.
of your rallying call, is it still time to give up or step out? Is it still time to be rolling our eyes or raising our sights?
No, it's time for the SDLP to be coming forward on all the issues we are coming forward on. Remember, we're the one party in the executive that, when it came to the Assembly, did not support what we now see to be a subprime budget. We were wrong. We were right. We called the budget and the programme for government for being flawed and for being flimsy. And people are paying the price for that now. Because of that budget, we're seeing cutbacks in our health and social services. The efficiency savings aren't just stopping at administrative and bureaucracy.
Yes, but not even you foresaw the changed economic circumstances of the last 6 months.
Well, first of all, we did predict earlier than others that the budget would not survive its time, and the fact is it is now not fit for purpose. And rather than revising that, what is the current executive doing? Insisting they're just sticking with it, even though, as you say, the last 6 months has transformed everything. And so we have an executive sticking to a budget whose presumptions and projections have absolutely gone south. Now, somebody needs to be honest in politics here, because if we're going to tell the banks and we're going to tell people in business in terms of a new economic order about how to do things, it has to be based on being honest. Be honest about what is good and be honest about what is bad. We have been on all of the issues, and we recognise that we have to be about our own position as a party as well.
All right, well, let's return to that position. Here's a quote from another commentator, former senior member of your party. There's a major disconnect with the electorate at the level of communication, at the level of the content of that communication and the development of the grassroots. Do you recognise that?
Well, obviously we always have to keep working at making sure that we do connect fully with the public. But let's look at the current situation. I mean, recently Martin McGuinness was teasing the SDLP and saying that we were in denial and that we're no longer close to the centre of power and that Sinn Féin are close to the centre of power and close to where decisions are. We're close to actually where decisions are hurting people and affecting people. People who are losing out in frontline services. People whose jobs in public services, including nurses, are going to be on the line as a result of this executive's
But all parties
decisions.
are close to that. Everyone's in the same boat.
Well, who's trying to do something about it? Well, who's making the decisions that are resulting in these cutbacks in jobs, these cutbacks in services? It's Sinn Féin and the DUP who are imposing these. They're the people who are insisting on sticking to this budget that is damaging public services, is cutting back on key services, seeing jobs go. And in terms of answering the economic challenge, they are not on top of the job. They might be on top politically, they might be on top of the Assembly, but they are not on top of the job of government.
But you're in government. You have a social development minister sitting at the executive table. Why don't you just get out if you're so unhappy?
Because we are there to try to do a job. Margaret Ritchie has a job to do in a key department in terms of regeneration, in terms of housing, in terms of the community and voluntary sector, who again are being let down.
Sure, but she herself said if she found it more difficult to do her job, that the SDLP would reconsider its executive participation. She said that just last month.
Well, it's not exactly what she said, but we are there to do a job. And yes, other people are making it hard for us. We saw even this week where Peter Robinson completely misrepresented Margaret Ritchie on the floor of the Assembly. So we had the First Minister saying things that were completely
untrue. Are you going to
apologise
to him for
saying things
accusing him of misleading the Assembly?
I have no apology to make to Peter Robinson whatsoever. I will address the Speaker's ruling in terms of what the Speaker has said and what the Speaker requires. I have no apology to make to Peter Robinson.
You find a different form of words. Is that what you'll do?
My challenge to Peter Robinson absolutely remains.
This is too much detail. Let's get back to the broader picture about your party. I mean, Conal McDevitt was talking there about, in the film, about the need to be talking about the evolution of relationships in this island, the sort of politics he said that made the SDLP great. Aren't you, though, in reality still fixed on the past? I mean, the very fact that your slogan, or one of your main slogans, is the Civil Rights Party, is that not harking back to a golden past?
Well, first of all, it's not our main slogan.
It's still appearing on press releases every day of the week.
Yes, and it's what we used in this year of the 40th anniversary of civil rights. So we've been using that for that period, and rightly so. But remember, civil rights doesn't just go back to the past. We were having to fight on issues of civil rights this year in relation to 42-day detention, in relation to the British government's attempt to bring back one of the provisions from the old Special Powers Act of giving ministers the power to sack juries and suppress inquests.
But younger people particularly don't connect with that, with that heritage.
Well, first of all, whether or not young people connect with that or not, we have to confront the issues that are there. And that's a key civil rights issue. When the government are trying to digitally remaster one of the provisions of the old Special Powers Act, we, particularly given our pedigree, are proud to fight that, and we will be fighting that very strongly indeed when that comes forward again.
But that's, of course, not why you chose that slogan. You chose it, as you say, because of the 40th anniversary of the movement. Is that not, as I say, looking back to your past too much?
No, well, it isn't, because civil rights themselves aren't done and dusted. We still have to fight for civil rights in this day and age. There are current issues and current challenges in civil rights. And, of course, there are whole new issues of rights.
But every party could argue that, of course, that all parties are pro-civil rights.
Well, you could say that
What's
about the economy.
about you?
You could say that about any issue. You could say that about the economy.
I know, so you have to make something distinctive.
You could say that about social. What's different about us is it's true. What's different about us is it's authentic, and we actually do something about it. We're not afraid to go into Westminster and fight in those issues, even though we have limited numbers there. We're not afraid to go and fight in those issues in the Assembly and in the Executive. We're not just going to repeat everything that the civil service give us just because we are now in government. We showed we were effective when we were in government, and we were stronger in government. And people in this community are suffering because they don't have the SDLP stronger in government. This devolution is underachieving, not just because of the downturn, but because of the poor performance of the two parties that are dominating, and the fact that they're more engaged in power play, they're more engaged with a carve-up between themselves and carving out other parties than they are about carving out a strong basis for the future economy. How do you think
nationalists are faring in this administration? I mean, snail's pace on policing and justice, which, again, in that ministership is something you, again, talk about in terms of discrimination against the SDLP, no Irish Language Act, no development of the maze so far. I mean, are nationalists taking a hammering?
Well, the fact is the DUP are running rings round Sinn Féin in relation to those and other issues. Sinn Féin claim to be great negotiators and very able. They're not showing it in government. They are running with agendas that were set by direct rule. They are running with briefs that are given to them by the civil servants. And in terms of the key policy objectives, the key big stands that they set out for themselves, they haven't been delivering on them. They've been letting themselves down, and they've been letting nationalists down.
But you're not benefiting
more widely,
from
Sinn
that.
Féin and the DUP between them are letting this community down.
But the SDLP is not benefiting from that. I mean, your vote was down in Dromore, it was down in Fermanagh.
Well, let's get to a situation where we have a wider election. There will be a European election this year. There might well be a Westminster election this year or next. And we know the issues on which we will be fighting them. Those are going to be broader issues. They're not going to be down to the tactical vote issues and the low turnout issues that arise.
And what will you be selling to the electorate in your manifestos for those elections?
We'll be selling that in the face of the current crisis that we are facing. They want people who are serious about the issues, people who are out there for them. Our priorities are people's needs. That's where our priority is. It's quite clear that their own interests is the priority of the DUP and the priority of Sinn Féin. We're the people who are on the case for business.
They would argue that they're working very hard to help people in this terrible economic climate, and can produce long lists of initiatives that they have introduced.
Nothing new and nothing now. Look at the package that was announced before Christmas. What in it was new, and what in it is particularly happening now? Things are very limited. Business needs much more than just a bit more help for some Invest Northern Ireland clients. There's far more businesses out there than Invest Northern Ireland clients who need help and support report. We were onto the issue of the banks, not just here, but in Westminster, and we've been using our influence there to try to get the performance and practices of the banks here
a 10-second message
business.
to prospective SDLP voters.
The people need to vote SDLP because they need a stronger SDLP if they want stronger devolution, if they want stronger policies that protect their interests and promote their rights and address their needs.
Mark Durkan, thank you very much indeed.